Today we're going to learn how to make salt dough. So salt dough is very much like Play-Doh. We can sculpt things out of it, and at the end we could even bake it to harden it up. And it's made with pretty simple ingredients, just flour, water, and salt. Now we have two different ways of making this. They both make exactly the same thing, but I'm going to show you how to make it using measuring cups and also just by using a regular cup in your cabinet in case you can't find the measuring cups there. The very first thing we're going to add to our bowl is 1 cup of flour. So I've got a cup of flour here, I'm putting it in. Next we add a 1/2 cup of salt. You're going to want to mix the salt and the flour together so that it's pretty well combined. Lastly, you're going to want to take a 1/2 cup water and add it to the mixture little by little. When you're finished, take a look at your dough. If it's kind of sticky, you can add a little bit more flour. If it's a little bit too dry, you can add just a little bit more water. Just add a little bit at a time. So when I feel this, I feel that it's just a little bit sticky, so I might add just a tiny bit more flour to it. At this point, we're left with a really nice smooth dough. Now you can keep it like this and just sculpt whatever you want out of it, or you can add color to it by using some food dye. To add some food dye to it, I'm just going to take a little piece off, and then I'm going to make this little well so the food dye has a place to go. And then I can pick a color that I like. And for this step, this does stain, so you might need an adult's help with this part. If you don't have food dye at home, you can also just wait until after it's baked and then color it with markers too. So here's my food dye. And then I want to be really careful because again, this does stain, does make a mess. So I'm just sort of encapsulating it in the middle. You can see that it even tries to escape right there. And I'm just going to mix it together until I have a uniformly blue salt dough here. Now something you want to keep in mind is that if you are adding food coloring, that is a liquid, so you may need to add a little bit more flour to it just so that it's not quite as sticky. And you can do the same thing with any color you want. Usually these food colorings come in just 4 colors, but you could even mix them to create new colors like purple. So go ahead and be creative with that if you've got the food coloring at home. Again, if you don't have the food coloring, just keep it white, and after it's baked, you can color it with markers or even color it with watercolors. Now, if you don't have measuring cups at home, you can actually use any type of container you have in your house. Just make sure that you follow these rules in this recipe right here. So if you don't have a lot of ingredients, you don't have a lot of flour, you don't have a lot of salt, you might want to use something small like this. So I'm going to look at the first step and it says 2 cups flour. So this will count as my cup, and I'm going to dip it into my flour container 2 times, level it off, and put it in here. Now the next step says to use 1 cup salt. So I'm going to use exactly the same container that I used for the flour and fill it up 1 time for the salt. Then just like last time, we're just going to mix it together so it's pretty well combined. And then the last step is to use that same exact container and put 1 cup of water into the other ingredients. But I'm not going to put it all in at one time. I'm just going to put a little bit in at a time, just in case it starts to get too sticky, then I'll have a little bit left over there that I don't use. Once you have a really nice consistency, you can go ahead and color it if you have the materials to do that, or just leave it this color. And if you want to protect your fingers from staining, you might want to do it inside the bowl, mix the colors inside the bowl, just so you're not getting it all over your fingers. Once you have all the salt dough you're going to make, then you can make some sculptures out of it. And you can even put it in the oven to bake it at about 250 degrees. And it'll take you, depending on the size of it, about 2 hours, 3 hours. You just want to wait until it gets hard. But for that step, you definitely will need an adult. So make sure that you ask somebody at home to help you out.